I want to invite somebody on stage who works on ground on an issue which the society conveniently chooses to ignore. An issue which is so serious that no statistics, no amount of breaking news or media coverage is able to resolve it. It is only through the resolve of people like Pallavi who are creating that kind of impact in the world and changing the lives of each of those women. For us, it may be a statistic on stage, but if you ask each of those rescued women, it's a new life that she gives. Please give a huge round of applause to Ms. Pallabi Ghosh for her impactful 10-minute presentation on Impact Global.
So before I start my presentation, I would just like to ask you, how many of you have seen the movie Bhakshak? How many of you have seen the movie Bhakshak? If you have not seen it, please go and see it. It's not directly related to the work that I do, but definitely after rescue, the girls that I keep in shelter homes face it, and face it more because they have no one behind them. So before I go to my presentation, I would like to tell a very small story on why I started working in anti-trafficking. It has been 11 plus years working in anti-trafficking, and there was a very small me when I was 12. Right now I am 33. 21 years back, I was in Bengal in a village, and there was this very small girl who went missing, and that child was also 12. So that is when this trigger point I saw, and it took me around 9 years to understand what is trafficking, जिसको हम बोलते हैं मानव तस्करी. A lot of people don't know what is human trafficking. A lot of people don't talk about human trafficking because we feel that ये हमें affect नहीं करता. It doesn't affect any of us, but somewhere it affects all of us because the clothes we wear, the earrings that we are wearing, everything, like starting from diamonds to fast fashion industries to the crackers that we blast so in such a happy way during Diwali. Most of these things are being manufactured or created by very small kids because putting kids in employment is something that can, garner a lot of, what you can say, yeah. Okay, so yeah. So it can garner a lot of revenue. Also, I don't talk anymore about trafficking. I talk about modern slavery, जो कि जिसको हम बोलते हैं आधुनिक गुलामी, because the places where I work, see, Bangalore is an IT city. Lot of information technology is there. The places where I work, लोग अभी भी 10 रुपए में काम करते हैं पूरे दिन. I'm not talking about girls. I'm talking about boys. So I'll go more in detail about the work that I do. But first of all, I'll just share you a story. Okay, so this is an image with all the social welfare officers. What's happening? Okay, so this is the story of a girl. So this girl standing with me, she came from a very humble family. Her name is Rashida. It is a name changed. She went to Bombay for work with her husband. I have hundreds of stories like this, but I want to share her story because she went to Bombay with her husband for work, and there the husband met another man who sent her to Pune for work. In Pune, she was sold off in Budwarpet. I think people from Pune must be knowing Budwarpet. Budwarpet is a red light area in Pune. We finally could rescue her after a sting. She was put in a shelter home. Again, the shelter home is coming. In that particular shelter home, she was told to say that she is not an Indian. She is a Bangladeshi citizen. Why? Because according to the shelter home, if she stays there and says she is not an Indian, they will keep her for more than a year, which means the number of persons you show in a shelter home means a lot of funding. So after a lot of hassle, we could send her home. I used to talk, at that point of time, I did not have an organization. I used to talk to her over call, disguising myself as her sister. But after a lot of hassle, we could bring her home. Now the challenge is her spouse, who was involved in her trafficking, is not complaint has not been made against him because of course he's the spouse. He married again. He kept her away from her kid, and except spade, there is every single item has been used to beat her, thrash her, and all that. I can't go more details because you will be triggered. So this is her community. So you can see when we rescued her, she had a life of hell because the community she came from, everybody stigmatized her. People boycotted her. She used to make dough in her neighbor's house. There was this uncle who used to take her help because his wife had passed away. But after the rescue, one day she went to buy potatoes in the nearby shop. Uncle had also come. That uncle asked the shopkeeper, ask her what is her rate per night. So that is when she called me and cried, saying that this is the same uncle in whose house I was to go and cook. Now he's telling me that. What should I do? I told her, you will not do anything. You will just be as you are because you got trafficked. That's not your fault. Someone trafficked you. So you can see how post-rescue also the problem doesn't end. So I will just share about, I don't know how many of you know about human trafficking. This is India-Bangladesh border where I work with no access to anything. Staying in Bangalore, we think that India has, of course, progressed, but still there are certain parts of our country. Like the other day, there was someone who wanted to help me and tell me that, we are planning to help you and we want to put up smart classrooms. I told them, the girls and the boys I work with, they don't even have desks and benches. Forget about smart classrooms. They stay on top of the river in a hut. So that is the challenge. We are talking about giving, a digital classroom to a population which fights every day for even 2 square meals. I have families who eat salt and rice for months because that is the poverty. So here I have just shared about human trafficking. I don't know how many of you know human trafficking, but please Google and see human trafficking cases. You will understand that how big problem it is and how our country is like 2-tier, 3-tier country, and so many girls and boys from our country are sent abroad for different kinds of, for different purposes. It can be prostitution, it can be bride trafficking, it can be anything. We say that poverty, unemployment, illiteracy, migration, natural disasters are responsible. But right now, I have people who are, there was this case just 2 months back. There was this girl from an IB school who got trafficked. Her father was a civil service officer. Her aunt reached me out because her aunt was a friend of my friend from Boston. And this aunt of her was telling, my niece is missing. Can you please help? And she is studying in an IB school in a metro city. I can't disclose much details because still the case is under investigation. I told the aunt, please check her social media. We checked her social media. We couldn't find anything. But after a lot of checking, we found out she was talking to a boy in Discord. I don't know how many of you know about Discord. This child was just 12 years old. And then because of course, civil service officer, lot of pressure. I have never done a rescue like this. We were actually in a train pulling up people's blankets, and finally we could rescue the girl. She was on her way to Bilaspur. They were on the way to Bombay. When I met her, I asked her, why were you trafficked? What was the reason that you ended up talking to a stranger and accompanying him? The girl said that, my parents are very rich. They give me everything, but they don't have time to talk to me. They never spend time with me. I am lonely. That is the reason I ended up with talking to somebody. I find emotional attachment with that person. So right now, loneliness, mental health issues, domestic violence are reasons for people to go missing, to end up getting trafficked. I've just given some details. The reason I started the organization as a small story, I was in UP in COVID, and I had rescued 8 girls from a red light area in UP. And that point of time, there was somebody who came to me and told me, my brother is corona positive. I was not able to believe it, but then I thought that maybe because at that point children were not getting COVID, children are immune. After 5 days, I got to know that there were 10 children getting corona positive. After another 2 days, I got to know that all the children died. I put up my informers on ground and found out that there was huge organ trafficking racket going on. But the challenge that I faced was I wanted to file a PIL. I had everything in place. But out of the blue, the entire 10 families were absconding. No trace. So that is when I decided to start the organization, because I realized individually working as an advocate or an activist will not help. So you can see how, right now, in our country, in the disturbed areas, conflict areas, children are recruited to become child soldiers. I don't know how many of you know that very small children are radicalized. They can be recruited as child soldiers and we don't know about it. There are children who are victimized. So there are, I don't know, on the red light areas that you go, you see so many children begging. Please note that 80% of these children are trafficked children, trafficked from other states of India, bought in these places, and there are mafias running around where their hands are cut off, they are maimed. So this is how this entire trafficking operates. It's a billion-dollar industry. It's something that can't be, at one point of time, I had this thought that, I want to stop trafficking. You can't stop trafficking because it is so huge and there is so much of money in it that it's impossible. So what we try to do is that, we try to prevent it. Okay, so what we did, what we tried to do, of course we rescue. Day before yesterday also I rescued we rescued a girl from Malur in Bangalore. There is another girl who was rescued from the Bengal red light area just 2 days back. I do rescues on a daily basis. Sometimes I do, sometimes team does it. What we see that, we have to, it's a vicious circle. What do you do? Over the years, talking to survivors, working with international organizations, what we observed, you have to have a holistic approach. And what is that? You have to work in prevention, you have to work in rescue, and you have to work in rehabilitation. Biggest challenge that we saw was most NGOs work in silos. Most of them. They do not want to collaborate. See, human trafficking, to prevent trafficking, we have to come together. It's a movement. One organization cannot do it. Every stakeholder has to be involved. Even if you talk about just going for a rescue, without police I can't go. Even after rescue, you have to go to the hospital, which is again a government agencies. I have had the toughest times of my life in the capital city of India, going to eminent hospitals where doctors do not know what is trafficking. When I used to go to the gynae department and say that, Madam, ye iska trafficking hua hai, they used to tell me, traffic signal se utha ke laye ho. And again, you cannot blame them. The reason is that they are not aware. How can you blame them? So सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम हमारे देश में, हम इस चीज़ के बारे में बात ही नहीं करते. हम सोचते गंदा है, मुझे अफेक्ट नहीं करता, तो मैं क्यों बात करूं? But the problem is that unless and until it hits you at your own family, you don't realize it. That is the problem. So what we started doing, the first thing was, we started following a bottom-up approach. मतलब आपको अगर काम करना है, तो आप एक वर्कशॉप देके काम खत्म नहीं कर सकते. What you have to do, you have to make that area accountable. So we started working very minutely with village and communities. We started creating anti-trafficking clubs with youth. We started talking to so-called, village response committees. Villagers, we started working with villagers, making them accountable and responsible. And we saw how we could prevent so many things together, because when you talk about trafficking, you have to talk about child marriage, you have to talk about teenage, everything is intersectional. So that way it helped. Also, what we observed, I will tell you about a girl I rescued from Gujarat. Most of the cases, most of the girls who are trafficked are by their own family members. This girl was trafficked. Somebody had mixed समथिंग इन सत्तू, आई डोंट नो यू नो सत्तू में मिक्स करके उसको ट्रैफिक कर दिया था गुजरात में. शी वाज स्मार्ट. उसने अपने भाई को कॉल किया जैसे तैसे. हर ब्रदर कॉल्ड मी. आई वेंट, आई रेस्क्यूड हर. उसकी बिगेस्ट चैलेंज दैट वी फेस इज दैट फैमिलीज, द मोमेंट द गर्ल्स आर रेस्क्यूड, फैमिली चाहती है शादी करा दो, इसने नाम खराब कर दिया है. दे डोंट टेल द स्पाउस दैट शी इज ट्रैफिक्ड. जैसे ही हस्बैंड को पता चलता है वो उसको डिवोर्स दे देता है. उसके बाद द गर्ल्स हैव चिल्ड्रन. नाउ they were earlier they were vulnerable, now they're double triple vulnerable with kids. कुछ आता नहीं है. So what happens, this girl, after the rescue, the traffickers came and broke her grandmother's house. The traffickers keep threatening her every day because they're from the village only. Now the problem is that the traffickers are so well connected that you know it's impossible for you. आप उनको जेल भी देंगे तो उसके बाद उनको बेल हो जाता है. So वो कन्विक्शन इतना कम है कि आप कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते. सो व्हाट वी ट्राई टू डू इज दैट यू नो वी ट्राई टू rehabilitate them as much as possible. So this is some of the work that I do. I don't want to go. These are some of the communities, and we have started working with very small kids because आजकल like 8-9-year-old children are also being recruited. So we work with very small kids. These are the survivors I work with. We have 3 safe spaces, one in Assam, one in Bengal, one in Meghalaya. What we try to do is that we have 3 programs. Of course, we have 3 projects, and under there is a project Suraksha under which we work with everybody that we come across to prevent trafficking. We have Project Uddhar, that's rescue. Project Sahai is like, you know, we give people skills so that you know they can empower. Also, there are other girls we send in other organizations who teach coding, graphic designing. There is the 3rd group who want to go through the formal system of education we give. So these are all the rescues I have done recently. Anyone who wants to get married recently, this is a survivor who got married in Delhi. We told the spouse that she is a traffic survivor. The spouse was ready to accept. I always ensure that there should be transparency. You should definitely tell the spouse if she is trafficked. A marriage happened. These were the girls from Meghalaya. These are other survivors working with us. I have survivors who work with me. These are all the survivors working in different places, learning everything, skill development. Once they pass out, we try to give them some kind of, either we tell them that, you know, you can work by yourself or you can work in whatever you want to do. Either you can be an entrepreneur or if you want, we can start a marketplace. So these are some of the work that I do. These are some of the solutions and their impact. This is a rescue, one of the toughest rescues. There are thousands of many rescues that I have done came in crime patrol, like huge rescues. There was a girl who was converted to a vegetable when I went to rescue her and took her to a Delhi hospital. The doctor was like, you know, you should not put your hands on her because pura body infected hai. But itna raat tha, so I had to. फिर we took out maggots from her head. We literally took out maggots. And the sad part is, the toughest rescues I have done are from houses of very rich people. Very rich people, well-educated people who burn these girls, who torture these girls. So it's quite triggering, so I won't go much more detail in it. I have a lot of videos which are triggering. I just want to show you one video that was, of course, because of secrecy and privacy, I cannot. That was taken by NDTV, where we broke a tunnel, where I broke a tunnel and took out 8 girls from the Delhi red light area. So I have that video for you all to see how humans are actually treated as commodities. I would just tell them to play the video. So yeah, if you can just play the video, you will just see how the girls were kept in a 2x2, 8 girls kept confined. So we have walls, so you can just see.
को दिखाने जा रहे हैं वेश्यावृत्ति के दलदल में फंसी एक लड़की की कहानी। सैकड़ों लड़कियों की तरह शिल्पा को भी अच्छी नौकरी का लालच देकर दिल्ली लाया गया था, लेकिन यहां उसे बिठा दिया गया दिल्ली के बदनाम जीबी रोड के कोठे पर। शिल्पा को आजाद कराने में उसके एक ग्राहक और एनडीटीवी इंडिया और दिल्ली पुलिस की क्राइम ब्रांच ने अहम भूमिका निभाई है।
एक और छापा दिल्ली के बदनाम जीबी रोड के एक कोठे पर। लड़कियां जानती हैं कि जब पुलिस और उसके साथ टीवी कैमरे आए तो उन्हें क्या करना है, कैसे करना है। पुलिस भी जानती है कि उसे तलाशी कहां लेनी है।
नीचे से, हाँ ये ऊपर होगा।
इसको तो तोड़ना पड़ेगा।
तोड़ना, हाँ यस।
इसको तोड़ो। इसको तोड़ना पड़ेगा। इसको कोई बुलाओ, उधर से बोलो इसको तोड़े। नीचे बुलाओ, बोलो इसको तोड़े।
देखते हैं नहीं मुंह पे न लग जाए। नहीं तो बिल्कुल सामान की तरह पड़ी हुई है। ऐसे लगता है जैसे ऐसे सामान रखा है ना।
इसके अंदर कुंडी होगी, कुंडी होगी इसके नीचे, ये नीचे वाली साइड पे कुंडी होगी। स्लाइड के नीचे लाए होंगे ना तो कुंडी नीचे लगी होगी। हाथ डाल के।
अरे तू लाइट दिखाता रहा भाई। ऊपर है, हाथ बचा के।
ऊपर है कुंडी।
ऊपर भी है, ऊपर भी है। हट जाओ बच्चे, तुम हट जाओ।
कौन है? इधर आ जाओ। अरे परेशान मत हो, इधर आओ।
रुक जाओ, ऊपर कर देते हैं।
आओ इधर।
सर हटना सर।
आ जाओ। अरे डरो मत, आओ।
आप सिर तो हटा लो।
कितनी है?
देखिए
कितने
यही मैडम। चलो
ओह माय गॉड।
आराम से।
चलो मिलते हैं।
अरे
दो हो रहे हैं।
आ जाओ चल।
आओ सब।
हट जाओ प्लीज हटो प्लीज।
चलो कपड़े।
अरे तू रवि इतना मेहनत करवा रहे हो बेवकूफ। अरे बाप रे बाप।
सर हटो सर मुझे।
अभी हो रहा।
सुबह होते ही यहाँ पुरानी जिंदगी लौट आती है। इन सीखचों के पीछे से लड़कियां अपने ग्राहकों को आवाज लगाती हैं। चेहरे पर भड़कीला मेकअप, शायद दर्द और निराशा की लकीरों को छुपाने के लिए। अब यही इनका घर है, जहां वो अपने बर्बाद हुए परिवार के साथ रहती हैं।
जीवी रोड में सब कुछ ऐसे ही होता है। पहले यहाँ पर लड़कियों को बहला फुसलाकर लाया जाता है, उसके बाद दलालों को बेच दिया जाता है, उसके बाद लड़कियों से देह व्यापार करने के लिए दबाव डाला जाता है।
I'm again going on the what you call again on 4th of this month in March for deposition. The girl is not alive anymore, so that is one. Second is there is a recent Crime Patrol episode that has come. I'll just send the link there where we rescued a girl. She went missing from her school, and then there were a lot of the father was really very strict about finding her, and she was trafficked in a midday meal cauldron. The cauldron that used to come, that trafficked her, and there was a place in Rajasthan that there was entire village making fake passports, giving hormonal injections so that 8-year children become 14-year-old children, and they were all trafficked to Middle East. So these are actually happening in our country. I'm just sharing with you, not to make you triggered, not to make you emotional, but to question you, putting one question: who are these people? And are we actually, if we think that we are a citizen of this country, I'm not telling you, people say, how can we support you? I'm not saying that, there is one way of support. Of course, there are different ways of support. Some support by funds, some support by awareness. But one thing, you all have children. Please note that, don't think that, I will just tell you one incident. I was in a Bangalore IB school giving a presentation, and the principal told me कि आप ना trafficking के बारे में मत बताना, हमारे स्कूल में कुछ नहीं होता है. 5 days later, there was this teacher calling me and telling me, मैडम मेरे फ़ोन में ना एक कॉल आया और वीडियो चला और थोड़ी देर बाद वीडियो बंद हो गया, वो आदमी मेरे से 5 लाख रुपए मांग रहा है. Then I told her कि आप मत दो. So cyber crime has become so much. आपको जिस तरह के messages मिलते हैं, you won't believe आपके ID, अगर if you give your ID somewhere and you don't trash it, there can be 8 SIM cards that can be made. I'll just finish with one thing. Please do not have a horses approach. Please आसपास देखिए. आपके एक phone call से, आपके एक effort से, you cannot imagine कितना आप दूसरों का help कर सकते हो. Thank you.